But I think one of the reasons is that a lot of people, when they stay in their home church, they never get a sense of the fact that they are responsible for a part of a mission that doesn't have anything to do with their mother or their father or their grandparents, but it is because of their personal relationship with Jesus Christ, and they are responding with Him, to serve Him, to flourish in His courts, to do what they're supposed to do, regardless of what mom or dad or anybody else is doing. And so we have this sort of an exchange thing that's going on. Some of the people in our area marry and go to a different church because they agree to attend a different place. And sometimes, again, it's because of, my parents go to First Baptist and yours go to Second Baptist, so let's go to Third Baptist, or whatever it is. So they have a chance to be their own person as God would lead them. And that's the only reason to go to a particular church, as God leads you, and to serve in that way. So we ask the question, are we worshiping God with our life? You see, a lot of us can see a person who is standing there and their arms are raised up to God and they're praising God. This particular one's got a little gray hair in there. But that kind of worship is one thing. The kind of worship we're talking about is like that one who is bearing fruit, even in old age. It's a call on all of our lives to do, but how we live is our true sense of worship. It is that living sacrifice. Some would say, well, is there anything going on here at Little Cypress Baptist Church where some of our older adults are actively involved in work? Are they still in service? And I know, sitting in this room right now, there are many in this room who are grading exams for the Right Way Prison Ministry. There are people who have been on international mission trips to Peru, to Africa. Not all of these are senior adults, by the way, but they're part of our congregation. To South America, to Central America, to Mexico. There are some who have been involved in national missions. I'm looking at guys in the room right now that have been on church building trips to Colorado, to Mexico, places in Texas. People who have been involved in vacation Bible schools, mission vacation Bible schools. They've done work in Oklahoma and Texas. The Sabine House Ministry, block parties, community outreaches, adult choir groups that have gone to senior adult facilities, people involved in visitation, those in our congregation who built wheelchair ramps for people we didn't even know but had a need, and done auto repairs and benevolence work, the Learning Center ministry, and all that means to our community. We're recognized as really the #1 child care facility in our city. Amen. And that was in the paper. We've been actively involved in serving the Lord through missions giving for as long as I've known this church, and obviously a long time before. And this work continues to go on. Even though at times we may seem like, well, are we struggling? Maybe our attendance is not as good as it had been at this particular point in time. Folks, there's tithes. Tithes go out and they come back in. There's spiritual tithes. When we see things not going the way that we should, the idea we want is to, regardless of our age, come before God and say, God, is there something we need to change or do in our relationship with you individually or as a church, that we might continue to serve you faithfully in all things? I just wanted you to see some pictures that would come by. An example of a Baptist disaster relief team. Work that we did in Acuna, Mexico. And by the way, this is just one of the mission trips, and this is our group. There's a few guys in this room that are counted as senior adults now that weren't in that picture. And there's a few of them in there got ball caps on, actually had brown hair instead of the hair they got now. But I'm one of those guys in that group. And as you think about how God used you back then, You have to know that regardless of your age now, just like my dad, God has a way He wants to use you now. In this picture, you would say, okay, where are some of these people that grew up with parents in this church and why aren't they here? Well, does anybody recognize Katie Wright, who's now married to a minister and not here, but is actively involved in service? And back there in the back, they're going, who? Is that my daughter there? I think it's Katie. Is it Katie? That's what I thought. Mom said, yes, it's Katie. All right, and the next one, you see you see the little child with the orange shirt. And then you go to what would be your right, and right in behind those other two girls. Who is that? That's Ashley Ramon. And she didn't even have a boyfriend at that moment, I don't think. And so, what age are you supposed to be to serve God? How old do you have to be? And is there really a time to stop? In the next picture, here's an opportunity that Liz and I had to take this new young couple in the church to learn about Bible study at a precept convention. Now this couple, I don't know if you've met them before. They were just getting started. A couple of Roman Catholics who had been gloriously saved at various times and had eventually found each other and been married. And here they are going to learn about how to study the Bible. And now they were among two of the first, but we had groups of women that went and attended this event and stayed together out on the river in Chattanooga and had some interesting times there as well. And how about these kids? Y'all recognize any of them? Yeah? Look at that. Now there was a children's choir worker that had to work with that bunch right there. How about this? Block party. This is the first block party we had, the invitation time. Anybody see Eva Lois McLean in that picture? Yes. Yeah, Dawn to be when you couldn't miss Eva Lois and her hair. You know, that just stands right out. Chuck Davis, right through there with her back to us, Denise Bailey. And others that are there, what are they doing? They're actually talking to people about decisions that they've made in the process. So the things that are going on, whether it's Mission Vacation Bible School, there's Linda Woodard, trying to minister to some children to get them involved, to be ready to come to a Mission Vacation Bible School in McAlester, Oklahoma. And then here's some people who like to play in the mud. Those people don't play in the mud on the ceiling. But that's Liz and Win Bland, and they're busily trying to put a ceiling back in there because our congregation basically went there and tore the guts out of this church. Insulated it, repaired it, sheetrocked it. And you recognize any of these folks? Gina's daughter right there in the front. And Scott Henson's daughter behind her. Okay, so as you look at, anybody recognize that little girl in the front? Gina's youngest daughter. Okay, she's the only one that would roll with a hip kicked out. In this picture, and I think Sherry Thompson's in there somewhere. I know Sherry Barnwell is. You say, well, does anybody in this church, if you're a young adult, you would say, does anybody in this church ever do anything? Are we always just going to call on the young adults to do it? Not only are they doing it, but they're still doing it. Because there's these people in these pictures. This is after Rita, when we went to feed first responders. First responders got fed very well the first week because everybody's freezers had good food in it that was about to go bad. So that first week, they ate really good. I don't know what happened after that. People in our church got involved to help our community. Now, this is not us per se, but I know a number of men in our church who literally took off from their jobs because their plants were shut down. They could have gone out there and stood around and made money just standing around, but instead they got chainsaws that they got to work, and they went and started helping people put their lives back together. And we have Texas Baptist Disaster Relief people doing that to this day. Here's the group from the McAllister attendance, and you look at the age groups. Every age group in the church is represented well in this time. It goes on. We took people to train in biblical counseling in Houston. And they have many people in our congregation that took the basic biblical counseling courses. And as you look on to the next one, here's a youth mission trip. And these ladies were putting quilts together that we're going to be taking. Gretchen McCauley's in this picture. Well, where is Gretchen? She's serving the Lord in Mississippi now. And so we're always in a flux in the kingdom. God is putting us where He wants us to be. But we're still at work. And the next one, here's Carla Belknap. Carla, instrumental in the establishing of our learning center that we talked about. If it had not been for the early committee, Carla's work, we would not have the learning center as we know it now. But let's don't stop there, because there's many committees that have also served with the learning center. And you take, for example, just recently, the work that Lori Springer did, along with one of the best committees that we've ever had for the Learning Center, and how radically improved things are, along with our new director, who we appreciate so much. Now, how about Wednesday night meals? Some people would think, well, is that really that important? You ask a group of students who are not going to have something to eat, if they're going to come to the church, or they're going to have to try to get mom to take them to Taco Bell or whatever. You think about some of the school teachers and people who are coming right from work. And as you look in that picture, you would see, who is that on the left? That looks like Betty Webb. Who is that in the middle? That looks like Dora Barnwell. And so as these people did what they could do at the time, I can't quite make out the other one. But everybody gets to the place in the generation where they know, now I have the opportunity to serve this way, to provide food so that people can come, so that the ladies can be in their women's small group, so that the pastor's small group and the prayer meeting small group, and the youth and the children, and this need is met, and people are able to be a part of what the Lord is providing that night. Now here's a couple of characters that are out trying to make sure that kids know about Bible school. And Manuel's in this. There's another picture where Jeff Hill is prominently involved in that, but I didn't want to break the video projector, so I didn't put that one in. What is going on with all of these things? This is not just the past, people. This is what the church family is doing as we provide for the basics of church work. You see, in this room are all kinds of people who are involved in Sunday school and Bible study for all age groups. And God uses us to teach the Word. There are small group leaders. There are people who are volunteers for programs other than Sunday school, for preschool through 12th grade. Discipleship leaders, there are many discipleship leaders who have been trained to teach discipleship courses and that sort of thing at this point in time in our church. We struggle to have the people to provide the courses like Experiencing God and things like that we've had in the past. Because I think a lot of people, we think we're too busy or it's too long of a commitment, whatever it is. But we have to remember that only the things that we do as we honor God will be things that last for eternity. Prison ministry volunteers, some of them involved with various network or denominational, associational ministry groups that go to the prisons. Our cooking teams, our volunteers for Crisis Expo, our worship leaders. I don't want to say anything about Betty Miller's length of term of service because I didn't get a chance to ask her what year she's in of serving the Lord, but she's been playing the piano for this church family for a while. And those of you who are volunteering and doing it now, while we're in the process of searching for our next minister of music, those of you who have played instruments and do those kinds of things, we're appreciative, we're grateful for all of the things that happen. I want to tell you a little story. In this story, it kind of tries to catch the idea of how broad of a generational thing should be going on in the church, just like it is in the world. Some of you who like baseball are going to know that this story is reaching way back. Ted Williams, at age 42, slammed a home run in his last official time at bat. Now, if you're playing baseball 42, that's over. Mickey Mantle, at age 20, hit 23 home runs in his first full year in the major leagues. The opposites of the spectrum. Golda Meir was 71 when she became the Prime Minister of Israel. William Pitt II was 24 when he became the Prime Minister of Great Britain. George Bernard Shaw was 94 when one of his plays was first produced. Mozart was just 7 when his first composition was published. Now how about this? Benjamin Franklin was a newspaper columnist at the age of 16 and a framer of the United States Constitution at 81. You are never too young or too old if you've got talent and a willingness to serve. Let's recognize that age has little to do with ability. It has to do with a heart to serve. As you think about this, you look at Psalm 71, verse 18. The psalmist said, even when I'm old and gray, oh God, do not forsake